In this lesson, we'll learn how to use medium-range radar-guided missiles, which you'll use in BVR engagements. We'll first discuss the older AIM-7 Sparrow, and then the modern AIM-120 AMRAAM. The Sparrow is an older missile using semi-active radar homing, meaning that the missile relies on the launch aircraft's radar to guide it to the target. The launch aircraft must keep illuminating the target with its radar until the missile hits. The newest AIM-7M version has a range of up to 35 miles at high altitude. As with all air-to-air missiles, range strongly depends on target aspect, launch altitude, and launch speed. You will see much greater ranges at 30,000 feet on a closing target than 5,000 feet on a receding target. I currently have the lesson paused. First, enable Beyond Visual Range Master Mode by pressing 2. Next, turn on your radar by pressing I. Look down at your MPCD at the lower left of the instrument panel. The line drawing represents a top-down view of your wings, and the text inside this drawing describes the various missiles you're carrying. The F-15C has 8 weapon stations, 4 under the fuselage and 2 on each wing pylon. For each loaded weapon, the status and type is displayed. The currently chosen missile will be boxed and its status will read ready. The missile type is indicated on the second line. 7M is an AIM-7M, 120B is an AIM-120B, and 120C is an AIM-120C. The letter suffix, like B or C, indicates the specific version of the missile. You can change the currently selected missile by pressing D. Press D now until an AIM-7 is selected. In the bottom left of your HUD, M2M indicates your currently selected missile and the number remaining. The first letter will be M for the AIM-7 Sparrow, A for the AIM-120 AMRAAM, and S for the AIM-9 Sidewinder. The last letter is the version of the missile, in our case the AIM-7M, and the number is the quantity remaining, 2 in this case. Press the spacebar to continue. I've added a target about 40 miles ahead of you at 15,000 feet. Lock the target in STT mode by moving the target acquisition symbol, the 2 vertical bars, on the VSD over the contact with the comma, period, slash, and semicolon keys, and then locking it by pressing enter. Use the minus and equals keys to adjust the range displayed as needed. Press the spacebar once you have the target locked in STT. With the target locked up, some new information is now available in the HUD. In the middle of the HUD is a solid circle called the Allowable Steering Error, or ASE circle. Fly to keep the small steering dot inside the circle, and as close to the center as possible, to give the missile the best chance of reaching the target. The line off the edge of this circle indicates the target's aspect. If this line is on the bottom of the circle, you're facing the target head-on. If it's to the left, you're facing the target's left side, and so forth. Also on the HUD is a box that indicates the line of sight to the locked target. The box will have an X in it if the target is friendly. When you have a valid firing solution, that is, you're within maximum missile range and the steering dot is inside the ASE circle, a triangle will appear under this box, and rectangular lights on your canopy frame, referred to as shoot lock lights, will illuminate. Press the spacebar to continue. The scale on the right side of the HUD, next to the altitude scale, is the target range scale. There are 3 thicker bars sticking off the right of this scale. The top one indicates the missile's max range against a non-maneuvering target. The middle one is a range called RTR for range, turn, and run. At this range, your missile can hit a target even if it turns and runs. The bottom line represents the missile's minimum range. The closure rate to the target in knots is indicated on the left side of this scale. If you see a large X across the HUD, your range to the target is less than the missile's minimum range. The 3 lines of text in the bottom right of the HUD are the range to the target, the time it will take your missile to reach the target, and the target's aspect, for example, H for head-on. Press the spacebar to continue. Take a look at your VST. You'll see that much of the information on the HUD is duplicated here and includes the ASE circle and the steering dot, and the range scale along the right edge. The boxed region of the range scale is between the missile's minimum range and RTR. When the target's range is about halfway between max missile range and RTR, hold the weapon release button on your stick or right Alt space on the keyboard until a missile launches. At longer range, the missile will climb after launching to extend its range by operating in thinner air. As the target gets closer, you can zoom in by pressing equals if desired. The blinking number on the bottom left of the HUD is a countdown until the missile hits. Because the Sparrow relies on your radar lock for guidance, you have to retain the STT lock until the missile hits. You can press left Ctrl F6 to follow your missile on its journey to your target. Press F1 to return to your cockpit view. If you don't get a hit, try again with your other Sparrow missile.
Shoot. Shoot.
Nice hit. Next, we'll cover the AMRAAM, Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile. This missile replaced the Sparrow and, compared to the Sparrow, has improved range, guidance, and weight, and an internal radar seeker. This radar seeker allows the AMRAAM to guide on a target without support from the launch aircraft, allowing the launch aircraft to maneuver without loss of missile guidance. As you can see from your MPCD, we are currently carrying two versions of the AMRAAM, the AIM-120B and the AIM-120C. The AIM-120C has improved target detection and greater range. When the AIM-120C is selected, one of the 120C missiles will be boxed in the MPCD, and the indicator in the bottom left of the HUD will read AXC, where X is the current number of AIM-120Cs carried. Change weapons by pressing D until the AIM-120C is selected. The HUD symbology is very similar with the AMRAAM as with the Sparrow. The most obvious difference is that the ASE circle is dashed instead of solid. With the AMRAAM, we can use LRS and SGT radar modes as with the Sparrow, or we can lock and engage multiple targets simultaneously in TWS mode. Let's try that. Switch to TWS by pressing right Alt I. I've added a few targets about 40 miles out. Choose one as the primary target by moving the acquisition symbol over it in the VSD and pressing enter, and then choose another as a secondary target by doing the same over it. Press the spacebar once you have two targets selected. The HUD shows targeting information for the current target, which is now your PDT. As with the Sparrow, a box indicates the current target's location. A star will appear under the box when valid launch parameters are met. The target is within the maximum missile range and the steering dot is in the ASE circle. When you first launch an AMRAAM, it will use your radar to guide it to the target until it is within range of its own radar. If you lose radar lock, the missile will estimate the target's position and guide to this point until it goes active, that is, switches to its own radar. The number in the bottom right of the HUD after M is the time until a launched missile will go active on the current target. When the range of the target decreases to within the range of the AMRAAM's radar, approximately 10 miles, this timer will decrease to 0 and then switch to displaying time to impact. When your current target is about halfway between max range and RTR, fire a missile by holding the weapon release button, right Alt space, until it launches.
Shoot. Shoot.
The blinking timer on the bottom left of the HUD shows two numbers. The first is the time until the missile is active, and the second is the time to intercept. Once the missile is active, only the time to intercept will be displayed here. Now that you've launched a missile at your primary target, the targeting information of the HUD is switched to your next target, which is your first SGT. While your first missile is on its way to your primary target, go ahead and hold the weapon release button again to launch a missile at your current target. The timer on the bottom left of the HUD will now show times of your second missile. If either of your missiles don't hit, try again with your remaining missiles. Good hits. This concludes this training lesson. I've unpaused the lesson and activated two additional targets if you'd like to continue practicing, or you can press escape to end the lesson now.
Shoot. 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 Shoot.